Billionaire mom witnesses homeless boy's lesson to her daughter. What happens next will haunt you. The sun hung low in the sky, casting eerie shadows across the bustling streets of downtown Los Angeles. High above, the glass towers of the wealthy reflected the fading daylight, creating a stark divide between those who lived in luxury and those who struggled beneath the weight of existence. Among the rich, Amelia Carter, a billionaire with an empire built on tech gadgets, believed she had it all. But that day would unravel her carefully curated image, exposing truths she never expected. As her gleaming black SUV rolled to a stop, Amelia glanced out the window and froze. Not far off, a boy, no older than 10, sat cross-legged on the sidewalk. His clothes were tattered and stained, a haunting reminder of forgotten childhood. Beside him, a few crumpled dollar bills lay as his only claim to dignity. He clutched something small and worn in his hands, his eyes fixed on the passers-by, each one a brief flicker of hope before the disappointment returned. Amelia's daughter, Lily, no stranger to privilege, leaned closer to the window, curiosity sparking in her bright blue eyes. "Mom, can we help him?" she asked, her innocence cutting through the heavy atmosphere like a knife. But Amelia hesitated, her mind racing. She had seen too much, felt too much. The world tended to chew up the hopeful and spit them out. In that moment, the boy's gaze locked on hers, piercing, searching, and oh so revealing. A chill trickled down Amelia's spine, as if he could see straight into her soul, her fears, her past, her fortress built on security and distance. The world around them swirled with sound. Honking horns, snippets of laughter, the distant wail of sirens. But in that instant, everything solidified into a haunting silence. People walked around the boy but never acknowledged his presence. He was invisible to them, yet Amelia felt the weight of his existence pressing down on her like a dark cloud. The boy slowly raised the object in his hand, revealing a small, crumpled paper crane that fluttered gently in the breeze. Then the impossible happened. He spoke, his voice barely a whisper above the chaos. "If you give, you'll find something more than money." His words hit Amelia like a punch to the gut. What did he mean? Her heart raced, baffled and intrigued. The boy's wisdom was beyond his years, wrapped in the innocence of his situation. Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon, and while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Amelia's mind raced as uncertainty gripped her. What could this boy possibly know about her life? The intricacies of wealth and status felt so far removed from his world. She could see Lily's eyes glowing with a mixture of hope and confusion. Her heart ached. The homeless boy had cast a spell on them, one filled with unseen possibilities and a twinge of guilt. What lay ahead was unknown, but the boy's words echoed relentlessly. What if this encounter would change Amelia forever? As she looked deep into his eyes, something stirred within her, an urgency she couldn't shake. The world around them faded, leaving only the haunting question flickering ominously in her mind. What lesson would they both learn before the day ended? The moment felt suspended, time stretching as Amelia battled between her reality and the boy's piercing gaze. Her heart raced uncontrollably, as if each beat demanded action. Every whisper of doubt thrummed within her, battling the urge to look away. She could almost hear the chatter of the city fading away. "Mom!" Lily's voice broke through the haze, urgent and hopeful. "Can we help him, please?" Amelia felt the weight of her daughter's gaze. The innocence in those bright eyes stirred something deep inside her, a longing for connection, perhaps lost in her whirlwind life of corporate power and insulated privilege. The boy's words echoed again. "If you give, you'll find something more than money." What did it mean? As if reading her thoughts, the boy shifted slightly, bringing the fragile paper crane closer to his chest. He met her stare once more, but this time with something different, deeper an understanding that felt ancient. Amelia felt tears prick her eyes. She battled them back, forcing herself to focus on the boy. Is it real? She found herself asking, her voice small and frail. What's real? He replied, his tone almost playful, revealing a wisdom that seemed unlikely for someone of his age. The world. Amelia gestured at the passers-by. This life, your life? A flicker of a smile played on the boy's lips as he held the crane aloft, its paper wings trembling in the wind. You think it's all a game? He asked, steadfast. People forget it's not just money. It's love, hope, a chance. The truth of his words sliced through Amelia's guarded heart, awakening a cascade of emotions. Each anxious feeling morphed into something heavier, guilt intertwined with empathy. What was she protecting? A life full of things, yet painfully void of genuine connection. Amelia! A man's voice cut through the moment, snapping her back to reality. It was Mark, her business partner, emerging from a nearby restaurant. His perfectly tailored suit seemed to shine against the grim backdrop of the streets. We got that meeting with the investors. What are you doing? The urgency in his tone ignited something in her. How trivial it felt. The most important meeting of the day suddenly seemed so meaningless. She shook her head, feeling a tumult of anger and loss for the millions bypassing the boy without a second glance. Just a moment, Mark. She spun back to face the boy. What can I give you? The boy's eyes lit up, reflecting the dying sunlight. But Amelia noticed a shadow flicker across his expression, a flicker of hesitation. What you have isn't the question. It's about what you're willing to change inside. Amelia frowned, confusion battling her instincts. Change? But she could feel the walls of her life about to tremble. Mom, please. Lily's voice was insistent again. Amelia took a deep breath, ready to reach for her purse. When the boy suddenly spoke, more intensely, you have to understand what you decide today could lead to something you can't take back. His words wrapped around her, squeezing her heart. What did he mean? Uncertainty flooded her thoughts, but something made her pause. She felt as if the boy was not just a mere observer. He was a catalyst urging her to confront the shadows of her life head-on. Please, Lily, Amelia said softly, ushering her daughter toward the boy. Let us find out what this means. But just as her hand reached for her wallet, an ominous sound echoed from behind a shattering glass, the flash of movement. Her heart lurched as she spun around, seeing two men in dark hoodies barreling through the crowd like a storm, their eyes filled with reckless abandon. Get down! She screamed instinctively, knowing their world was about to collide with her own, everything changing in just a heartbeat. What had she sparked? The boy grinned knowingly. You just took the first step, he whispered, as chaos erupted around them. What lesson awaited them in the madness that followed? Panic surged through Amelia's veins as the sound of shattering glass echoed violently in her ears. Her world, once serene and controlled, had erupted into chaos. The fierce rhythm of her heart quickened, drowning out the city's normal hustle, as the two hooded figures barreled toward them, eyes wild and frantic. Mom! Lily's voice trembled, her small frame instinctively pressing against Amelia's leg. Stay behind me! Amelia shouted, her protective instincts kicking in. The canyons of their lives had never felt more stark or safe, polished world meeting the gritty uncertainty of the streets. The boy with the paper crane stood still, rooted to the spot, his expression eerily calm amidst the turmoil. You have to decide now, he said, his voice cutting through the chaos like a razor. What are you willing to protect? Amelia could barely process the question with the shouts and urgent movements surrounding her. The two men had stopped just feet away, scanning the crowd, their breathing ragged and aggressive. Time turned elastic. Every second felt like an eternity. Hey! One of them yelled, their voice hoarse and edged with desperation. Nobody move. Fear gripped Amelia like steel. She couldn't let her daughter get caught up in this nightmare. Her eyes darted, searching for a way out, but the street was a labyrinth of shocked faces and frozen bodies. Then she caught sight of the boy again. He had taken a step closer to her, the paper crane still clutched tightly in his hand. "You can either stand and watch or you can choose to act," he urged, the wisdom in his eyes so profound it nearly took her breath away. "Mom, I'm scared." Lily's voice quivered, pulling Amelia back to reality. "I know, sweetie. Just stay close to me." Amelia managed to whisper, panic threatening to creak the edges of her calm. Ronning chaos around them faded into a muffled chaos as she formulated thoughts frantically. "Do something." Mark's voice broke through, and she turned slightly, catching his worried expression among the crowd. He was right at the edge of the chaos but frozen, just like everyone else. "Stop," Amelia called out, her voice strong and infused with urgency she didn't know she possessed. She stepped forward, heart racing, ready to stand between her daughter and the unknown. "You don't need to do this." The masked men turned toward her, bewilderment clouding their expressions, and for a brief moment, she was able to connect with that frenzied, desperate energy sizzling in the air. Amelia took another deep breath, her body vibrating with adrenaline and something that felt like bravery. "Just talk to me. Tell me what you want." "Nothing you can give," sneered the taller one, shifting his weight, clearly agitated. "We just need space. Move. Get out of the way." She didn't step back. Lily tugged on her arm. "Mom, please no." Amelia steeled herself. The boy's words echoed in her mind, glimmers of hope intertwined with fear. This was her crossroad. The weight of her choices closed in on her protection, privilege, power, the fabric of her life threatening to unravel. The men looked at one another, uncertainty crackling in their gaze. Suddenly, before Amelia could capture the moment, the shorter man lunged forward, but the boy was quicker. "Stop," he shouted, startling everyone. The paper crane flew through the air, glinting in the sunlight, landing between them like a white flag. The silence that followed was suffocating. Amelia could only hold her breath, waiting for a moment that felt heavy with significance. The two men froze, their gaze locked onto the fragile crane. "Sometimes," the boy continued, "it takes a small act of courage to shift the tides." Amelia held her breath. Would they understand? Would they respond? Suddenly, the taller of the two men blinked, a flicker of hesitation reflecting in his bewildered gaze. It was a glimmer of humanity in his storm. But in a heartbeat, chaos erupted again, the moment fracturing as sirens blared in the distance, echoing through the streets and hitting them harder than the shattering glass. Would anyone choose courage before the storm broke? As the sirens grew closer, Amelia felt the churn of fear and anticipation blending with a desperate need for change. What would she choose when the tide turned? What would that fragile paper crane unleash in the chaos? The silence shattered as relieved but chaotic shouts erupted from the crowd. People pushed back, scrambling away as sirens wailed, their red lights flashing in frantic bursts. Amelia felt the crush of bodies pressing against her, her instincts to protect Lily surging more than ever. "Stand back," the taller man barked, his eyes darting between the growing crowd and the precious paper crane. That fragile symbol seemed to loom larger, pulsating with an energy all its own. Amelia met the boy's gaze, a silent plea passed between them. She felt an odd sense of connection, of bravery rising from the core of her fear. "Mom, we should go," Lily whimpered, the tension coiling tighter around them. Amelia couldn't tear her gaze from the hooded figures. The desperation radiating off them was palpable. Just as she was about to pull Lily away, the boy stepped forward, unwavering, a beacon amid chaos. "Please, we just want to be heard," he shouted, his voice cutting through the noise like a knife. Amelia felt a surge of admiration for him. He was just a child. Yet there was power in his conviction. "The world isn't fair. Help us." The shorter man's glare turned frenzied, his breathing frantic. "Shut up," he spat, the desperation in his voice now tinged with fear. "You have no idea what we're capable of." Amelia glanced back at her daughter, fear cloaked in her wide eyes, and something within her snapped. She stepped forward, fueled by instinct, urgency propelling her past fear. "If you want to be heard, then talk to us," she cried, her voice trembling yet determined. Shut it. The taller man screamed again. You're making this worse. The boy's face was intense, his eyes pleading. You don't have to do this. Listen. He took a step closer to the men, his form small yet resolute. Stay back. The shorter man barked, panic twisting his features as he reached for something in his pocket. Something metallic glinted under the sun, and Amelia's heart dropped. Back off. Or I swear stop. Amelia's throat felt raw, but the urgency poured from her as she felt the collective heartbeat of the crowd, thrumming heavily with anticipation. Please put it down. The sirens were deafening now, reverberating through her bones. Time seemed to shift and stretch, every heartbeat becoming an eternity. She could see the conflict in the taller man's eyes, the struggle between instinct and reason, a battle they all shared. Listen. The boy's voice was powerful. You're scared. We're all scared. But we can make a choice. We can choose peace. The men appeared caught off guard, their defenses momentarily drawn back. A tense silence blanketed the street, everyone holding their breath, waiting for the decision to be made. Then, out of nowhere, someone lunged forward from the crowd. Stop right there. A uniformed officer emerged, rushing towards the scene. The moment broke. The tension snapped back as the two men instinctively turned, terror igniting their eyes. Run! The taller one shouted. They spun on their heels, barreling down the avenue, racing away from the police figures emerging. Amelia watched, caught between relief and horror, knowing how close it had come. Are you okay? She whispered to Lily, who was pressed against her tightly, eyes wide with fear. I don't know. The boy stood frozen, a mix of hope and despair. He looked between Amelia and Lily as if he felt he had lost something vital in that fleeting moment of courage. And before anyone could react, the sound of a gunshot rang out, sharp and cracking, sending a fresh wave of panic racing through the crowd. Mom! What's happening? Lily cried, clinging tightly to Amelia. Amelia's heart dropped as she scanned the chaotic scene. Stay close. We have to get out of here, she said, her voice firm but laced with fear. But the boy remained rooted. There was a flicker of something in his eyes as if he knew more than he could say. It's not over yet, he whispered, his voice almost drowned out by the sirens. What had he seen out there? What more awaited them in this tangled web? The sound of shouting and confusion grew louder. Amelia's mind raced as she pushed Lily deeper into the throng of bodies, the world crashing around them. What did they unleash with that fragile paper crane? What if this was just the beginning? The sound of the gunshot echoed through the air like a shattered glass, slicing through the chaos and leaving only stunned silence in its wake. Amelia felt her heart pound, every beat a frantic reminder that danger lurked just beneath the surface. She gripped Lily's hand tighter, the desperate squeeze a lifeline in a sea of uncertainty. Mom, we need to go. Now. Lily's wide eyes glistened with tears, her voice rising above the murmurs of panic around them. Amelia turned, scanning the throng enveloping them. Fear electrified the atmosphere. People scattered to the sidewalks, eyes darting, minds racing. What had just happened? Who had been shot? The unanswered questions hung like a fog over the crowd. Stay close, she shouted over the encroaching chaos, her protective instincts screaming at her to keep Lily from harm. She felt their bodies bump and push against one another, the crowd parting, frantic energy surging forward. But she couldn't bring herself to leave just yet. Not when that boy was still standing there, poised like a tower amidst the storm. Look, the boy's voice rang out, cutting through the growing din. He pointed down the street, where shadows loomed and the flickering blue and red lights melded with the fading sunlight. We can't let them get away with this. We have to stop them. Are you out of your mind? Amelia spat, her anger colliding with the fear for her daughter. You're talking about running into danger. But the boy shook his head, his expression fierce enough to silence her. If we don't stand up, who will? You feel it, don't you? They're scared just like us. She could see it in his eyes. A raging fire fueled by something greater than fear itself. A spark of righteousness ignited. It tore at her heart, urging her to remember the world beyond her own little bubble. But then the sirens howled closer, a relentless reminder of the reality crashing down. It brought Amelia back to the instinct to protect. Suddenly, a group of uniformed officers burst onto the scene, a wall of authority rushing to re-establish order. One officer stepped forward, voice commanding, "Everyone disperse. This is a crime scene." A low murmur rippled through the crowd as people shuffled away, yet Amelia remained rooted, caught in the tension that hung in the air. The journey of their lives had collided with this moment, turning crisis into a struggle wrestling between justice and fear. "Mom, please," Lily pulled at her again, the agitation rising in her voice. Amelia glanced down, guilt piercing her heart. "I'm sorry, baby. Just give me a." Before she could finish, the boy lunged past her, hat tilted low, a flash of anger in his step. "We can't let them just walk away." "Stop," Amelia shouted, her voice rising above the chaos, while Lily gasped beside her. But he was already sprinting, weaving through the dispersing crowd, determined. Amelia felt the weight of her decision crashing down to follow or stand back. "Mom!" Lily's clutch was desperate, unyielding. "We can't just leave him." A swirling tempest of emotions gripped her. The choice pressed against Amelia like a heavy stone. She could turn away, usher Lily to safety, or she could risk it all, stepping into the unknown. "Stay here," she commanded, her voice shaking yet resolute. "I'm going after him." The words felt both exhilarating and terrifying at once. With every step Amelia took toward the boy, a thrill coursed through her, the thrill of fighting back against the oppressive weight of fear. It felt reckless, dangerous even, but she could feel that thread of connection pulling her, binding her to them, tying her to his cause. But just then, as the boy pushed forward into the thickening chaos, a chilling sound erupted from behind them, a loud crash followed by frantic shouts. A vehicle barreled through an alley, too fast, too reckless, straight toward where they stood. Her heart raced, adrenaline pulsing through her veins. "Run!" Amelia screamed, the plea echoing through the air like a warning bell. And as the boy turned, eyes wide with realization, Amelia felt everything surge. The stakes were higher than ever now. Forces she didn't yet understand were colliding, pulling her deeper into this web. What would unfold next? Could they find a way through this storm together? Or would the consequences be far worse than she could ever imagine? The screech of tires filled the air, drowning out the chaos as the vehicle hurtled toward them, a metal beast with a single-minded purpose. Amelia's instincts kicked in. She yanked Lily back, her heart pounding in sync with the frantic beat of her mind. "Move!" With a strength she didn't know she possessed, she pulled Lily to the side just as the vehicle roared past, missing them by inches. The rush of wind whipped Amelia's hair into her face, and she stumbled, catching herself at the last moment. The crowd was now a blur of limbs and panicked shouts, everyone caught in the grip of sheer terror. From their new vantage point beside a nearby storefront, Amelia looked back in time to see the boy dart to the side, his resolve undeterred by the chaos around him. He was still shouting, his passion igniting a fire in the hearts of others who'd turned their eyes to the scene, eyes filled with disbelief and dread. "What is he doing?" Amelia whispered to herself, half in admiration, half in fear. "Mom, he'll get hurt." Lily wrung her hands, her small voice quaking with fear as she pointed toward him. "We have to help him." Before Amelia could answer, the boy's figure disappeared into the throng of people, dodging a mass of limbs and fear. Her heart sank. What if he fell into the wrong hands? What if he got caught in the growing chaos? "I can't let him do this alone." The words slipped from her lips before she could think better of them. With a quick glance to make sure Lily was right behind her, she surged forward. "Stay close to me. Don't let go of my hand." She could feel the pulse of panic in the air, but there was something else lurking beneath it, something that smelled like courage. As they drew closer, Amelia saw him again, shouting, his voice a beacon in the tumult. "Over here." He beckoned to some of the people, urging them to stand up and take action. "We can't let them escape." The boy's fervor spread like a spark in dry grass, igniting whispers of agreement among some who dared to heed the call. It was a dangerous fire. She could see that clearly, yet it brightened the edges of Amelia's claustrophobic dread, awakening something in her that she thought had long been extinguished. Then it happened. A crack as sharp as a whip cut through the air, another gunshot. This one rang out like a clarion call, directly targeting the boy's uprising. The crowd gasped, people froze, faces turned pale. Time stretched. Even the sirens paused, as if they too had heard that shot. Amelia's heart leapt into her throat. She shielded Lily, pulling her close. "We have to go now." Her voice trembled, but she had to be strong. Lily's innocent eyes were wide, reflecting both fear and confusion. "No, I want to help." The defiance in her daughter's small voice sent pain through Amelia's chest. She understood that intense need to act, to make things right, especially in the face of such wrong. "Lily, please." Amelia's plea snapped with urgency. "We'll come back when it's safe. Promise." But as she turned, preparing to lead them back through the crowd, she caught a glimpse of the boy once more. He stood defiantly at the center of the anxiety, like a conductor amidst an orchestra, even though peril encroached from every side. "Don't!" he shouted, face trembling with emotion, but what followed next was absorbed in the swell of screams that erupted all around them. And as Amelia felt the tightening grip of fate around them, the question hung heavy in the air. What would she give up to save them both? Would the boy's bravery entice her to risk everything, just at the moment hope seemed just out of reach? With the chaos swirling around her, she had to decide. Would she take a stand beside this boy? Or would she pull Lily away and bury her dreams of change deep in the dust of indifference? The moment was now, and it was about to explode. The ground shook beneath their feet as a second gunshot echoed through the street. Amelia's chest constricted, the world around her becoming a whirlwind of shapeless shadows and terrified cries. This wasn't just a protest. It was turning into a nightmare, a blazing wildfire of desperation and fear. "Mom, look out!" Lily screamed, yanking on Amelia's hand. Panic surged through her as she felt an unfamiliar sensation, a surge of fury rise up where fear had settled. She was not going to let her daughter see terror paralyze them. Not when a spark of hope flickered just ahead. With determination threading through her veins, she tightened her grip on Lily's hand and forced her way through the mass of bodies huddled together in flight. The boy was still in view, rallying the frightened crowd, drawing them closer, urging them to stand together against the encroaching danger. "Follow him!" Amelia shouted to Lily, her voice breaking through the chaos like a lifeline. She couldn't just pull away. That wasn't how they would leave. They would fight together, even if that only meant standing beside those brave enough to take a stand. The surge of bodies pushed them closer, and Amelia could see the boy's face determined, defiant, fully aware of the risks. His momentum sparked something in her, a daring, reckless urge. Against the backdrop of screaming sirens and cries, his unwavering bravery shimmered like a beacon amidst an approaching storm. "Stay behind me, okay?" Amelia urged Lily, stepping forward as adrenaline kicked in, heightening every sense. The boy yelled again, louder this time, filling the air with a fervor that resonated deeply inside her. "This isn't just about us. This is about everyone," he shouted, hands thrusting into the air. "We can change this together." The crowd seemed to ripple at his words, wavering between chaos and resolve. People were inching forward, murmurs of agreement beginning to unfurl. Amelia's heart raced. She could feel something growing, something electric, a raw energy building like a storm. And just like that, another shot rang out. This time it wasn't just a warning. It was an attack. A gunman was firing indiscriminately, aiming into the crowd that had begun to unite. Panic exploded once more. People shouted, bodies shoved against each other in a desperate rush to escape. "Mom!" Lily wailed, clutching Amelia's waist. Time shattered into a million shards as each second stretched, feeling like an eternity before Amelia could react. "We can't go back now," she yelled, urgency propelling her forward. But her heart sank, realizing they were boxed in, trapped between the raw chaos and the boy whose fight shone like a star in the dark. Suddenly, something shifted within the boy. His calm determination was pierced with a flicker of fear. "We have to hold together," he shouted, a tremor in his voice but defiance shining bright in his eyes. A glint caught Amelia's eye, a flicker of metal, the telltale flash of an armed figure moving with swift intent, eyes scanning for targets. Her breath hitched, and dread crept into her chest. Every instinct screamed that danger was closing in, and then, Amelia spotted it, a narrow alleyway to their right, opening up like a breath of fresh air among the suffocating grip of fear enveloping them. "Come on," she shouted again, pulling Lily with her toward the opening. The boy stood at the lip of the crowd, frozen in resolve, a fierce hope against the rising tide of terror. What would happen if they left him behind? That decision clawed at her, but the gravity of survival overshadowed the question. As they reached the alley, Amelia hesitated, torn between the boy's fiery spirit and the impending danger. But just as she looked back, she saw the gunman step forward, aiming right at the boy. "Stay close," she commanded Lily, fear and adrenaline sharpening her senses. They stepped back into shadows, but part of her heart still burned bright with the boy's valor. Would courage prevail? She didn't know. But one thing was for certain: darkness was closing in, and the streets were about to explode again. Would they find safety in the alley? Or was this just the calm before the storm? They slipped into the alley, and the air grew heavy with the stench of garbage and despair. Amelia pressed her back against the cool brick wall, pulling Lily tightly to her side. The chaos faded into muffled shrieks and distant shouts, replaced by the pound of her heart echoing in her ears. "Mom, are we safe?" Lily's voice was small, almost lost amid the cacophony outside. Amelia's mind raced. "We have to wait here just for a moment," she whispered, but her thoughts were a whirlwind. That boy, what had he inspired in her? That spark of bravery, that call to fight against the injustice. But now what mattered most was keeping Lily safe. Suddenly, a loud crash shattered the relative silence. A dumpster toppled over in the alley just a few feet away, the metal scraping against the concrete like a screech. Amelia's breath caught in her throat, and she tightened her grip on Lily's hand. "What was that?" Lily whimpered, eyes wide and teary. Amelia glanced through the darkness, every creak and echo tightening her chest. "I don't know. But stay close," she urged, steadying her voice despite the rising panic inside her. The alley felt like a prison, closing in, filled with shadows that could swallow them whole. Just then, the sound of footsteps echoed from the street, heavy boots pounding against the pavement. Amelia's heart raced again. Were they coming into the alley? She peered around the corner, her breath held tight. Through the dim light, she caught sight of uniforms, a group of officers, moving with palpable urgency, scanning the aftermath of the chaos. Her heart sank at the reflection of desperation on their faces. "This way," one of the officers shouted into a radio. "We need backup. It's escalating." But beyond them, she could still see chaos, a mass of bodies, fear roiling in the air. The gunman had to be there somewhere, hunting for a target, prey mingling among the innocent. "Mom, I'm scared," Lily whispered, trembling. Amelia keenly felt the weight of her fear. "Me too," she admitted softly, kneeling down to Lily's level. "But we need to be brave, okay?" She smiled, trying to pull some strength from deep inside. "Remember that boy? He believes we can change this. We just need to find a way to protect ourselves first." At that moment, the sounds grew louder, new shouts mingling with the sirens, and anger spilling onto the streets. She pulled Lily closer, desperate to shield her from the violence that was seeping into their haven. "Mom, what if they find us?" Lily asked, eyes glancing around in wild fear. The question rang heavy between them. The realization that they could still be in danger here made Amelia's pulse quicken. "If we stay quiet and keep moving, they won tea," she whispered with conviction, even as doubt crept in. But as they huddled together, a rustle from deeper in the alley caught Amelia's attention. Her eyes darted toward the sound. Was it someone hiding? Or maybe the gunman had followed them? Carefully, she eased herself toward the noise, Lily's grip like a vice on her arm. And then, she saw them, two figures crouching in the shadows, eyes wide and fearful. "Help us!" A voice trembled, breaking in the heaviness of the moment. Amelia's heart raced. Who were they? Were they victims of the chaos like them? Or worse, were they connected to the gunman? "Stay here," Amelia whispered to Lily, going against every maternal instinct that screamed for protection. She had to find out who these people were. They might be her only chance to escape the nightmare unfolding outside. "Mom, don't go," Lily pleaded, pleading eyes clinging to her. But the unknown voices churned in her thoughts, drawing her nearer. "Just a moment," Amelia whispered back, edging closer. And as she stepped around the corner, she braced herself for what she might discover. The darkness loomed, questions swirling like smoke. What was waiting for her in those shadows? And would they lead to salvation or danger? As the echoes of chaos persisted behind her, she knew that choice could change everything. Could she trust what was hidden inside the night? Or was it the beginning of a deeper disaster? Amelia's heart thundered in her chest as she stepped into the darkness, the voices growing clearer and more desperate. She focused on the two figures crouched against the damp brick wall, shadows twisting around them like grasping hands. "Please help us," the trembling voice pleaded again. A young boy, maybe 10 or 11, staring back with wide, tear-streaked eyes. Next to him, a girl who couldn't have been much older clutched his arm, her gaze flickering between Amelia and the street beyond. "What happened?" Amelia urged, eyes darting to the street, fear and guilt mixing in her gut. She wanted to pull back, to run to Lily, but the urgency in their eyes was gripping. "Are you hurt?" The boy shook his head, but he was pale, and tremors ran through his small frame. "We're hiding the man he was shooting. We saw him." His voice cracked under the weight of his words. Amelia choked down a lump of dread in her throat. Lily's safety felt like an anchor tethering her to the alley. But could she just leave these kids behind in the chaos? "Listen, we need to stick together," she said, fighting to keep her voice steady. "We can't stay here. There's a lot happening outside." "No, we saw him," the girl insisted, her eyes wild with fear. "He was shooting everyone who ran. We don't want to die." Panic gripped Amelia harder. The thought of the gunman still lurking sent ice racing through her veins. "You need to trust me," she said gently, kneeling closer to their level. "I have a little girl." She gestured back toward Lily, trying to paint a picture of safety. "Your mom will help us, right?" the boy pleaded, glancing nervously over his shoulder. Before Amelia could respond, a sharp scream echoed from the main street, followed by the unmistakable sound of gunfire. It ricocheted through the alley, the noise jarring and threatening. Amelia flinched, turning abruptly back to where Lily was hiding. "Amelia!" her daughter's voice cried out, full of youthful terror. Amelia dashed to her side, pulling her into a protective embrace. "I'm here. I'm here," she soothed, but her heart twisted in agony. She turned back to the boy and girl. "We have to move. Now." "Where?" the girl asked, glancing over her shoulder toward the unforgiving street. "Anywhere but here," Amelia replied, her blood roaring in her ears. She realized with a sinking feeling that they could not linger. There was no safety in ignorance, and time was slipping like sand through her fingers. "Follow me," she instructed, taking both kids by the hand while still clutching Lily in her other arm. They began inching through the alley like frightened shadow creatures, Amelia keeping her eyes peeled for any sign of danger ahead as they maneuvered through twisted garbage and shadows. The screams and chaos outside seemed to shift. It was no longer just a distant horror. It was becoming real, and they were right in the middle of it, a moving target against a backdrop of collapse and despair. Suddenly, a shout pierced the air, and Amelia pressed back against the bricks, her heart lodging in her throat. "Get down!" she hissed as a figure emerged from the shadows, an officer, gun drawn, his eyes frantic and scanning the alley. "Everyone stay quiet," he barked, oblivious to their presence. Amelia held her breath as he moved past them, but the gnawing fear remained. What if he decided to check the corner? Would they be safe in plain sight? Every heartbeat felt like a countdown to disaster. She watched the officer disappear down the alley. A stray thought flickered in her mind. Had something gone wrong? Was the danger really from the gunman alone? Power struggles in the chaos outside might be a different kind of beast altogether. Mom, Lily whispered, her grip tightening. What's happening? Amelia's heart sank as the questions tumbled in her mind. How many more hiding places were left? And what lay beyond them? Behind them, the tight chaos grew louder. Shadows danced, and the night became thick with tension and uncertainty. Would they find another safe haven? Or would they have to face the full reckoning of this madness? Every moment felt like a gamble. As Amelia felt her pulse racing, she couldn't shake the growing suspicion that the worst was yet to come. What would happen if the real danger was closer than they thought? She took a deep breath, fatigue sweeping through her, but bravery lit a fire in her chest. Stick together, she whispered, inching them forward. This is not the end. But deep down, she wondered, was that truth or a desperate lie? The alley swallowed them whole, the shadows deepening as silence cocooned their small group. The chaos outside became a dull roar, muffled by walls thick with grime and despair. Amelia crouched, heart racing, trying to keep Lily and the two frightened children close to her side. Every sound outside sent tremors through her, waking nightmares that clawed at her mind. Mom, what is happening? Lily's whisper cracked like glass, cutting through the heavy air. Just hold on, sweetie, Amelia replied, her voice steady despite the fear tightening around her throat. We'll get out of here. But uncertainty gnawed at the edges of her resolve. She thought of the boy, the one who had confronted life with courage that seemed to belie his age. What would he do? Resilience flickered in her heart, igniting a rebellion against the despair that threatened to overtake them all. Suddenly, the distant thud of footsteps drew near. The officer from before had returned, and he was no longer alone. This way. Secure that entrance. We can't let anyone in or out. It's getting worse, the girl murmured against Amelia's side, her voice trembling. They're coming for us. Amelia eyed the shadows around them, feeling trapped like a fish in a net. We've got to move, she whispered firmly. When I say go, we run to that next corner, all right? Lily nodded, squeezing her hand. The boy beside them met her gaze, eyes filled with both fear and determination. There was something magnetic in his stare, a raw understanding of survival that connected them all in that bleak moment. On 3, Amelia counted firmly, her heart hammering in her chest as she prepared them for the leap into uncertainty. 12, she braced herself, her body coiling like a spring, ready to break free. 3, they surged forward, a small wave of hope battling against the tide of despair. Dashing from the alleyway into the street, Amelia's senses flared, adrenaline propelling her nearly faster than thought. The scene outside was chaos incarnate, a torrent of frantic movement as police officers maneuvered with stern expressions, and a crowd surged, caught between curiosity and fear. Where do we go? The boy cried, his breath quickening in panic. Amelia's gaze darted, weighing options as uncertainty threatened to pull her down, but she would not let the weight crush her. To the park, she shouted, pointing across the street to an open space, a less chaotic expanse that might offer them some respite. Mom, the gunman, Lily cried, panic infiltrating her voice. We'll be okay. Amelia steadied her resolve. Follow my lead. Another shot rang out, loud and ominous, a ball of fear exploding within the crowd. In the chaos, Amelia felt a surge of raw courage bubbling beneath her skin. Maybe the stakes were high, but they were not without control of their own fate. They dashed forward, hearts pounding in unison as they weaved through the remnants of a shattering world. Glimpsing police barriers, they crested a small hill, frenzy beckoning them ever closer to safety. As they reached the park, Amelia glanced back, searching for the boy. Stay with me. She turned, brushing against the familiar warmth of his presence. Suddenly, everything slowed to a halt. A familiar figure, tall and stoic, emerged, almost like a mirage. The boy stood poised amidst chaos, a radiance shimmering in his being. Together, he called out, his voice cutting through the chaos, buoying lost souls. Out of breath, Amelia steadied herself against a nearby tree, pulling Lily close. Look, she pointed, her heart aching but full. Yes, uniting everyone. And just like that, the frenetic tide of the crowd shifted again, panic turning to resolve. The boy raised the paper crane high above his head, the fragile symbol of hope that had stirred them to action. Listen, we need to stand together. This won't change if we don't fight for it. Around him, people turned, eyes wide, connecting in a way they never had before. For once, they stepped away from their fears rooted in contempt, and toward a community forged from shared experience. Amelia felt something shift within her. Maybe it wasn't just about survival. Maybe it was about creating a legacy of authenticity, empathy, and connection. Let us join him, she urged, pulling Lily with her, their feet chasing the promise of change. The park swelled with collective voices, a chorus of humanity rising together against the fear that had threatened to hold them in a chokehold of indifference. As Amelia surged forward, unity igniting her heart, she realized something momentous had begun to unfurl. The day that haunted her heart would transform into hope instead. Through that fleeting moment of chaos, she had finally stepped into something larger than herself. And then, just as the shadows stretched long in the evening light, she finally understood it wasn't just about giving. It was about receiving hope in return. In that moment, beneath the vibrant orange sun slipping past the horizon, she grasped the true meaning of what the boy had revealed. And finally, the brilliance of possibility shone through the darkness. With a breath full of promise, Amelia turned back toward her daughter. Let us not forget this. Let us remember to fight for those who can't fight for themselves. Hope radiated, and she held her daughter tight. Together they walked forward, away from despair and toward a new dawn. Now it's your turn. Don't miss out. Subscribe immediately to the channel, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire and ignite change. Smash that like button now to help feed the algorithm. Flood the comments with your thoughts on this powerful ending and your theories about the next adventure. And remember, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this uplifting conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share.